have been seeing a lot of trailers for new broadcast shows, and they have all looked like really good. So that got me thinking, is broadcast TV making a comeback? So in this video, we're going to take a look at some broadcast television shows and kind of look at some of the ones that are gaining a lot of attention. And is this a trend for the future? And are broadcast television shows actually making a comeback? Broadcast television has been around for a while, but streaming services became popular around like the early 2000s. So when they came on the scene, so when big streaming services like Netflix came on the scene, they really changed the game. And then they started making their own original content as well. When this happened, you were able to binge a whole season at once. You didn't have to wait week per week, and people were loving it. I know I did. And I know, at least for me, I was watching more original shows from big streaming services like Netflix, like Hulu, than I was from broadcast television shows that we see on cable that I had to wait week for week for. I was gravitating more towards big streaming services' original content. But broadcast TV always had those staple shows that had a very dedicated fan base. Shows like 911, NCIS, The Rookie, Law and Order, Grey's Anatomy, and there's probably so many others that I haven't mentioned. But all these shows have been on for years, and they continue to have enough viewership to get renewed for another season. And they must be doing something right, because people are still loving to them and coming back for more. Recently, there have been a lot of new broadcast shows that have caught my interest. But not only mine, they also caught the interest of a lot of other people as well. I can't tell you how many good reviews I have seen and all the articles I have seen about the viewership for all these shows. It has been everywhere on my social media. So I want to dig a little deeper and take a look back at some of the more recent television shows that at least gained my attention and see how it has increased from there. So one broadcast show that came on the scene kind of recently that people immediately flocked to was Abbott Elementary. So this show premiered on ABC, and people absolutely loved this show. And at this time when it premiered, this was honestly the only broadcast show I was watching that was currently airing on network television on cable. This show is currently on its 4th season, and it is still going so strong. I'm still loving it to this day. Abbott Elementary, this show debuted at 2.79 million views, and then it increased to 7.1 million within a month. And with their most recent season 4 had about 2.1 million viewers, and then after a week, the viewership tripled. Like, come on, people are loving this show. So for me, at least, this was the one show that kind of started it all. So in 2021, I first got interested in Abbott Elementary. I knew Quinta Brunson from what she had did kind of at BuzzFeed, and I was very interested to see what she was going to do with this show. And a lot of the cast members I had seen before and other things, and it looked like a great mix. So there were a few other shows after this that also gained a lot of attention, and people were interested in watching them that were broadcast television shows. The next show I'm going to talk about is Fire Country. This show premiered in 2022 on CBS. So this show I have not seen personally, but I've heard so many good things, and I've had a lot of people tell me to go check this one out. So when Fire Country came out, it became the most watched series in 2022 with its premiere. It ended up having 5.74 million views, and it has been a big hit on CBS. Next show I'm going to talk about is Will Trent. So this show premiered in 2023 on ABC, and this is a show that I have watched, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this show. I've already watched the first 2 seasons, so if you haven't, definitely go watch them so you can catch up. And it has been renewed for a 3rd. Season 1 of Will Trent had 9.9 million views after 35 days. Like, come on now. And then season 2, they reached their high with 11.23 million views for one of their episodes. Like, these shows are bringing in good views. People are flocking to it. They are enjoying what they're seeing. And for a lot of these shows, when I mention the views, these are across platforms. It's live and it's also streaming. Okay, the next show is Found. So the show Found came out in 2023 on NBC. So this was a show I started, and I believe I watched the first couple episodes, but I haven't caught up on it yet. But I definitely plan to catch up on the series because honestly, those first 2 episodes were really, really good. So this series, at the time that it premiered, had 10.5 total viewers. This show is currently on its second season and it still continues to bring in a solid audience. Yes, another show bringing in the people. People are enjoying it, loving the content, and I need to hurry up and catch up on this show because it is that good. Okay, so those were shows that started with Abbott Elementary around 2020 and kind of in the past years up to 2023 that have came out that I've heard about, got my attention, and got a lot of other people's attention. But I really feel like this year in particular, there have been a lot of new shows coming out and they all look so good. Like I really was seeing all these trailers come out and I'm like, why are all these broadcast shows coming out and looking really good? Usually I'm not too interested. Maybe there's a few that look somewhat interesting, but I'm never too interested to check them out. But particularly this year, I don't know what these networks are doing, but they really have been gaining my attention and a lot of other people, and I've been really wanting to check these out. Okay, so the first show I'm going to talk about that came out this year was High Potential. So High Potential premiered this year on ABC. And honestly, this show has become one of my new favorites. Watched the first episode, absolutely loved it, loved the concept as well. So this show has become ABC's most watched show in the past 6 years. Its premiere had over 20 million viewers. 20 million. Wow. And honestly, when I was watching the show, I understand. It has been so good. The next show that I will talk about is Tracker. So this is a show that I have started, but I haven't finished. I watched the first couple episodes and it definitely does interest me and I would like to continue. So this show premiered this year on CBS and it already is on its second season. So that doesn't tell you enough. I'm going to give you a little bit more. So this show for its first season averaged 11.6 million views per episode. Crazy. So yeah, the show is doing great on CBS. A lot of people are loving it and it's definitely one I want to continue with. Next show I'm going to talk about is Rescue HiServe. So this is another show that I haven't had the chance to watch, but it has caught my eye. This show premiered this year on Fox. It ended up having a strong premiere with 4.7 million views. This show had a couple actors, actresses that I was familiar with, and I definitely wanted to check them out on this show. I honestly just haven't had the time to check out the show as of yet, but I do plan on getting to it. Okay, next show is Matlock. This is actually kind of like a remake of the original show. This premiered this year on CBS. I have not watched this show either, but I have gotten so many recommendations to give this one a try. This show premiered with an average of 7.73 million views, and it already has been renewed for a season 2. Let me tell you, so many people have been talking on this show on my socials, and I've gotten a couple recommendations to give this show a try as well. So I definitely want to get to this show. But again, another show catching my eye and the attention of many others. The next show I'm going to talk about is Dr. Odyssey. So this show premiered this year on ABC. This is another show I have watched and I really, really liked it. So when this show premiered, it had 7.59 million viewers in the first 3 days. And it has been ABC's most watched drama in 4 years. I am enjoying this show. I had someone recently compare it to a mix of Grey's Anatomy and 911, and I would kind of have to agree. So if you like those two shows, maybe check this one out. So that is just some of the shows, particularly the ones that have caught my attention, but there are definitely probably other shows that a lot of other people are watching. But there are just so many new shows that are coming out this year, and they all seem to be doing really well. As I mentioned before, there have been broadcast shows that are doing well, that have been doing well for many years, but it just looks like these new shows have been catching the attention of just a lot more people really quickly. I really wanted to find out and kind of look into what is causing this quote unquote comeback of broadcast TV and why is this kind of happening? Why are so many people now flocking to all these broadcast TV shows? So when I was kind of looking into this and trying to see what was causing this, one thing that came up was the strike. So some of you may remember there was a writers and actors strike that happened in 2023. And so when writers and actors went on strike, it did delay production on a lot of movies and a lot of shows. So once the strike ended, it was said that broadcast networks were predicted to get into production a lot sooner. And because of the strike, it could be why so many are coming out around the same time. So broadcast might have an advantage over solely streaming services because they were able to get to production sooner than, let's say, probably a Netflix or a Hulu, Prime, the list goes on. So that could be a reason why this is happening. I think a big reason for the popularity is because of how broadcast television is structured. Usually, a broadcast show will have a new season coming out every year. Seasons used to have about 20 to 22 episodes per season. We were really spoiled back then. Some shows still do the 20 to 22 episodes, but now it is more common for shows to do about 10 to 15 episodes. I see more of like a 13 to 15, 18 episodes a season. So kind of close to the 20 mark, but a lot of shows have been doing less, around 10 to 15 episodes per season from what I have seen. But even though it is less episodes, we are still getting a new season every year. Recently, fans of streaming services have been frustrated with shows taking years to give us a new season with their original content. And I have to agree, as a big major fan of these big streaming services, I have become a little frustrated of some of my favorite shows taking multiple years to come out with a new season. A lot of us grew up with the typical broadcast television shows that gave us new seasons every year, that gave us around 20 episodes. They gave us holiday episodes, Christmas, fall, Halloween, Valentine, different themed holiday episodes. Like, we grew up with that. And I feel like a lot, not all, but some original content shows on streaming services, we no longer have that. And now a lot of shows we're seeing on these big streamers, these shows are taking 2, 3, 4 years for a new season. And when the new season comes out, it's only 8 episodes, 6 episodes, maybe 10. So we have to wait longer, and we're kind of getting less episodes. I also think the frustration is coming from waiting for new seasons and less episodes. And I also think some frustration is coming from shows getting canceled after one season. I know I have been one of those fans that have been frustrated with that. It just seems, at least to me, that a lot of new shows have one season and then they get canceled. So sometimes you don't want to get invested in a show. I know for me personally, I have seen shows that have caught my attention on different streaming services that are their original and they look really good, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to check it out in case it gets canceled. What's the point of getting invested if I'm not going to get another season? So I think a combination of frustration with that, things taking longer than expected, not getting a lot of episodes like we used to. I think there's a combination of all that a lot of fans of those services have been getting frustrated with how, I guess, the new structure and how things have changed. And that irritation, those emotions, and that frustration can cause a lot of people to look for content elsewhere, to look for something different that satisfies them. And the last reason why I think this huge resurgence is happening is actually because of the content. These shows have become popular for a reason. And that is because they are actually really, really good. All these shows have been getting and retaining the attention of so many people because the content, the cast, the writers have been putting in all this effort, and it shows because people are enjoying these shows so much. So maybe this is the biggest and the most important one, and probably the most obvious. These new shows coming out are just that good. People are loving them. They're advertising them great because so many people are hearing about them and they want to see more. Okay, so let's take a look back and kind of look at all the shows I mentioned throughout this video. Let's start at ABC. So I mentioned Abbott Elementary, Will Trent, High Potential, and Dr. Odyssey. All on ABC, these shows. ABC doing very well, giving us the content. Okay, CBS. We have Tracker, Fire Country, and Matlock. So 3 really good shows that people are enjoying. Okay, next one, Fox. Rescue High Serve, which is a show people have liked and I've heard good things about. And then NBC talked about Found, which is another great show. So those are all the networks and the shows underneath them that have gained at least my attention and a lot of other people. But there are probably a lot of other shows that came out this year gaining attention that people have loved that I haven't mentioned. I am excited for this kind of comeback of broadcast TV. I know I was kind of wondering in the past myself if broadcast television would be able to survive or sustain the level and compete with streaming shows, because I felt like people were leaning more towards streaming shows and that type of content and that structure. But it seems like broadcast TV can hold their own and they're making a comeback. So I wonder if this will have an effect on shows moving forward. If so, I wonder what that will look like. Will this have streaming services, the big streaming corporations changing their format and what their shows look like in the future. We will just have to see and find out. Do you think that broadcast television is making a comeback, or do you think it's the same as it always has been? Me personally, as you can see, I honestly think it's making a comeback. I think it's coming back to the forefront, and right now is doing a really good job of it. If there are any other TV shows that I have not mentioned in this video that you think people should definitely check out that are broadcast television shows, leave them in the comments below. I would love to see more that I should be definitely checking out. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will link my website below if you want any additional TV content. Feel free to like, subscribe, follow me on all platforms, ATS_MGO. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, week, month, and hopefully a good rest of your year. And until next time, bye.